I was really looking forward to open season Scared Silly because I really liked the previous films. And I had a feeling that I would like this one more than the others because I love spooky animation. Unfortunately, I liked it considerably less than the others. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not as good. This was released in 2015. It's directed by David Feiss. And this one actually takes place before the sequels, which is not something I have an issue with. It does make sense. And Elliot is telling a scary story about this werewolf, and it is just a story. But then it seems like the werewolf might be real. And I'll say no more than that about that. It was interesting enough. I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't the most compelling narrative. We also have Shaw causing problems, and as a character, Shaw is not too bad. Definitely a well-written character, I think. And all of the characters are pretty decent. But I just found that the narrative, even though this could have really appealed to me, I found that the narrative was nowhere near as interesting as the other ones. So it wasn't brilliant, but again, it wasn't terrible. It was watchable. The animation quality itself is, of course, very good. And I say that because sequels, particularly this far along, they're not always the same quality as the original, but actually, visually, that's absolutely not a problem here. And the dialogue is pretty good. We do have some funny moments. This is something that really stands out to me with the previous films, and thankfully this one is still pretty entertaining, but maybe, again, not as funny as the previous films. So if you've seen the other films and you've enjoyed them, then I'd say check it out. It's definitely not too bad. However, if you've seen the other films and you didn't like them, I'd say, unless there's something specific about this that appeals to you, I'd say it's not as good, so you might not like this one either. It definitely didn't live up to my expectations, but I feel like because the previous films are really good, I did kind of have really high expectations. So it's not perfect, it's not as good as the others, but it's an interesting enough narrative, reasonably well executed with some decent dialogue, and of course we have some likeable characters. It's nice to have another story with some characters that I love. I think Elliot and Boog in particular are really fascinating characters. I liked it. I had high hopes for Scared Silly. It did not meet those high hopes, but it was still an okay film. If you like the previous open seasons, then I'd say it's worth a watch, but it's definitely not one I'd bother watching a second time.